Welcome back to Collaboration Conversations. I am your co-host, Regina Partain Bergman. As many of you know, my co-host Pearl Cox is unable to be with us right now, and so we are having guest co-hosts. And as I've mentioned before, this has been so much fun to have a guest co-host that when Pearl comes back, I want us to continue this process. So our guest co-host this morning is Laura Nicole Brown. I'm going to tell you briefly about Laura, but I want her to tell you more. She is an international branding expert serving organizations who want to make a lasting mark on the world. She helps purposeful entrepreneurs to craft memorable brands and websites with intention, personality, and impact. Good morning, Laura. Welcome.
Hello, Regina. Great to see you here. Really happy to be here today. A bit about me. So I started my career in marketing. I've always been fascinated about marketing, about communications. So I did a master's degree in international marketing, which led me to have a career in marketing. So then I had a number of different roles within the corporate area. So mainly in the publishing industry, but across very different subjects, including petrochemicals, cardiology, medicine, supply chain, logistics. So very technical, complex subjects. It's very interesting at the same time. So it really taught me how to be very adaptable, really be very flexible in the kind of situations. And as I said, I've got quite an international background. I've worked in Singapore, Slovakia, Argentina. I've worked kind of very variety of places. And yeah, really, I ultimately reached a point in my career where I wanted to have more freedom, more flexibility to kind of, really have more of an impact with the work I was doing. So that led me to start my own business, which, as you mentioned, is really all about helping purposeful entrepreneurs really, grow their brand, build websites that really, reflect who they are and really help them to have a bigger impact.
Awesome. Awesome. How long have you been doing that, Laura?
So it's around 5 years now. It seems to have gone very quickly.
It
But
does,
yeah,
doesn't
it's been a bit of a journey, I can tell you.
it? Awesome. I appreciate that. Laura, would you introduce the guests that you've invited today?
Yes. So we have Regina and Sarah. So both know both of them quite well. They're very great contacts we met through networking. So I'll let them each introduce themselves in terms of what they do. And would you like to go first, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Regina. And I love this, Regina. So as Laura said, I'm Sarah Ibrahim, and I introduce myself as a responsible personal stylist. What does it mean? So I work with women 40-60 when it comes to age range who are transitioning. They are in that kind of period of their life that they don't really have a good connection with themselves. They feel a little bit disconnected, right? Because they don't think that they are the priorities of themselves in their life. So it could be when you change career and you are excited, but it's a huge question mark. What is going to happen, right? And or perimenopause, menopause, giving birth, all those kind, divorce, also all those kind of really important moments in a woman's, life, where the self-confidence and self-esteem is a little bit low as well. So the conscious and responsible styling I do with them, it's based on an inside-out process. So we start understanding where they are here now in terms of acknowledging their body shape, their colors, and how clothes can help them to feel and look good, which is a little bit deeper than just looking good. So that's why I like the inside-out approach. Someone says that I have an holistic approach. Yes, because I think, I like looking at my clients in a full way, right? In a full, like a big picture. It's not just body, but it's everything else around and inside them. That's it.
Love it.
Wonderful. Is it me? So
Yes.
my name is Regina, like Regina, and I am a hypnotherapist. I I started off as a teacher, but I became a hypnotherapist to help women who feel insecure and they have a lot of fear and imposter syndrome, particularly if they work in a male oriented environment or a male dominant environment. And I know exactly, or I appreciate how they feel, because I grew up in a very male oriented society. I was born in Brazil, which is all male oriented. And I know what it's like not to have a voice or to favor the men instead of the women. And so I decided to train in NLP and hypnotherapy to help them, those women, to know that they have a voice and to know that they deserve to be where they are, regardless where they work or who they work with. So some of the women I work with are very scared of their own power. Mm-hmm. And so make sure that they have the power, and it's how they use it, but it's in there, because I believe that everything starts within ourselves. So that's me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. It's so nice to have you here. I am excited to hear where this conversation goes and the value that you bring to this discussion about collaboration and collaboration conversations, which is exactly what today is, right? And I understand you met through a networking event.
Yeah.
So collaboration, right? Tell me about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're all part of a network called the Athena Network, which is quite a well-known network in the UK. I don't think you've got it over there in the US, but it's in the UK, and we all met there. It's actually it's actually turned into a virtual networking.
Right.
And it's basically a virtual networking group where you can visit different regions in the country. So it's, a very interesting network, and I've met lots of great contacts in that network. And I met Regina, I think it was quite a while ago, actually. I think it was years ago now. And I think I met Sarah slightly more recently. And it's a great place to meet new contacts and to kind of really collaborate with people. It's a very, I find the network to be very supportive. I don't know if you want to add anything, anyone, about your experiences of how you found it.
You want to go first, Regina, or?
Well, I find that so when I started the business as Regina Hypnotherapy, I didn't know anybody in the UK, so it was my first experience networking ever, and I loved it. And I find that women-based networking we are very supportive of each other, and because when you have your own business, you can feel very isolated. And it seems like the world is against you because you are the only one with, who struggle to get clients. And when I joined Athena, it was incredible. The connection was instant. And I met Laura many years ago, and then Sarah, and we have a lot of things in common. And that's why I love Athena. You find out that you have more things in common, more things that join us than separate us, and hence the theme collaboration.
Yes, indeed.
Well, for me, is I always actually have a kind of statement, in mind. I mean, I'm a stylist. I know what I do, but being and developing a business and being the business owner are completely different. They are two completely different things, right? So I deal with marketing, content. Laura knows exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not a marketing manager. I'm a stylist. But I know that I can find some help in Athena, because there are plenty of marketing managers or communication managers, and I'd be using, some of the services, and some of the ladies have been used, some of my services. So it's a collaboration. It has been an exchange, a lot going on over there. And as Regina said, I would say it's a kind of anchor, that you can find someone.
Yeah.
Even more than someone, right? Plenty of options. right there, right? Even if it's just a one-to-one and listening to, I don't know, a different point of view, for instance.
Yeah.
Very good. Like that. Have you formed some that it sounds as though, Sarah, you've actually formed some collaborations from that group, whether it's an exchange of services or what other ways have you all collaborated within that group, within your networking group?
Well, as I said, I mean, I'm having actually a collaboration soon with Laura, for instance, and I've been talking to Regina and myself about a potential, collaboration in the future, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not a collaboration itself, as I said, it could be just drop a line. You know what? I have a doubt on that, and I know that you are an expert. Can you help me? Can you just listening to me? I feel a little bit lost. So that's maybe not a collaboration in terms of is not going to turn into something bigger, but it's a talk. It's like when you work with your colleagues and you have your favorite colleague, and you go there and ask for an advice. It's more or less the same, I'd say.
That's a great aspect.
Yeah, I agree with Sarah. I mean, for example, just Laura and I haven't collaborated, but just reading her posts and her blogs, it gives me ideas on how to communicate my message to others, and it is incredible. It doesn't have to be. And always, if I have doubt, I can always send her an email, and she said you are on the right track or you're completely off. So this is to me, this is collaboration is the only way to work, because otherwise is isolation.
Yeah.
We are not, we need to collaborate.
Yeah, I agree. I think having your own business can be quite isolating, and you can sort of feel quite lonely. And I think, like you say, in that sense, it's very important to have people around you that are in a similar position to you in terms of, they have their own business and they understand how that is. And I think in that way, we kind of are supportive of each other because we're all in that same position, if you like, and we have the similar kind of challenges that businesses have.
Yeah.
Yes. So true. So one of the words that comes to my mind as you were all sharing that, excuse me, is the word trust, and how important it is that you trust those people that you're going to collaborate with. But also in this environment, I mean, there are so many people in the world that are teaching marketing, right? Or that are doing marketing, branding, doing all the things that Laura does. There are people that there are other hypnotherapists in the world. There are other people doing the things that we do. And so sometimes it's hard to know which voice to listen to. So does being part of this collaborative network group, how does that enhance your ability to know that you can trust each other? You can trust others in that group. How does that narrow your searching down for somebody that can help you?
So when it comes to me, actually, personally, I tend to trust my gut in terms of, I don't know, sometimes I feel if it's Laura, I know that her posts are clean, clear, straight to the point, step by step, that's it. So I know that I will get something by the end of that post. So that's why I trust her, right?
Awesome.
Same when it comes to Regina, the same when it comes to some other ladies. So if I feel reading, the post or listening to a podcast or whatever, that kind of clicking, that's the trust. I mean, at least for me, I think that it's like the sixth sense or whatever. I take it as a sign, let's put it this way, and I go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am all for the gut feeling and the intuition, obviously. But yeah, it's just talking and connecting and be interested and listen to the other person instead of your own voice. Even though I like the sound of my voice, but listen to the other person and really and see what kind of work and how you can help, and how they can help you. And Sarah and Laura have helped me a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Laura?
Yeah. I think another thing is about kind of having that connection with someone. So say you're in a conversation with someone, and sometimes there's certain people you kind of click with, and other people it's difficult. Like you feel it's a strained conversation where you're trying to make an effort to kind of bring the conversation to like a period of time, because you just don't have that kind of connection with them. So I've really found that like if I have like a good connection with people, it makes me trust them more. I feel kind of, whereas sometimes not that there's anything wrong with the person, it's just I don't feel like we're on the same wavelength, and I kind of, we don't have anything in common or something like that. And I think it's more difficult to build trust if you don't have that common, not necessarily you like have lots of things in common, but I just think there's that kind of same thing where you are in the same kind of, on the same kind of wavelength, you have a similar perspective on certain things. I think that makes it a lot easier. And also when you're actually, looking at potential clients as well, obviously you want them to be on the same wavelength, or people are going to refer you. They need to kind of understand where you're coming from to be able to do that and kind of really appreciate what you do.
That helps for sure. So let's say you've met someone in a networking group or somewhere else, and you get that positive gut feeling, Sarah. You get that. You know that this person is somebody that you would like to do something with, but at the moment you don't see what that is, right? But at some point you can see doing something with that individual. How do you nurture that relationship and keep that relationship alive to allow more thoughts about how you might collaborate and allow time for that to develop? How do you nurture that relationship?
I think it's very useful to be active in social media, be very like aware of what they're talking about, what kind of topics they specialize in, where they have maybe certain, because obviously like they're, all the subjects that we have expertise in, there are other people that know about that area, but maybe we focus on it in a more specific way that other people don't know about. So I think that's something to really think about. And the other thing is like finding common connections between what I do and what they do, and is this kind of some kind of like common kind of theme that we could kind of build from those kind of unique aspects that we both have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
Well, I totally agree with Laura. The social media. I mean, I was asked to take part of a conference. Unfortunately, it was online because it was in India. I really wanted to go to India, and she found me on LinkedIn and liked the post. So we started a conversation, and then she asked me if I wanted to talk about fear, imposter syndrome, because it was for a group of female scientists in a very male dominant environment. So that was interesting. So you need to nurture the connection. And I also find that the silver lining of COVID, because we were forced to go online. Yes. And then perhaps then it broke down all the barriers of online. You don't see the person, you do see the person, and energy, as you know, travels wherever you are. It doesn't matter if it's through a computer or face to face. I mean, the minute I met Laura and Sarah, I felt an instant connection that I could get in touch with them. And even if I don't see them, or have we met, Laura? We haven't met in person yet.
No.
And we will perhaps next year, because I am at the moment, I'm in Brazil, and you, Regina, you are away as well. We are not in the same country.
Exactly.
So it's this is, but we can nurture this connection by being connected.
Yes. And I'd like to go back, and then Sarah, I want to ask you to add to that as well. But I'd like to go back to something Laura said there too about following on their social media, and you know, being sure that you engage with them on that social media so that you bring more to the value of their post, so that you're supporting them, um,
Well,
so
it's
that they get
more.
more attention. Mhm.
I'm completely agree with the ladies. The thing is, it's more or less like when it comes to my clients, for instance, right? I know that they are studying me before getting in touch, you know.
Yes, yes,
So it's like I notice, you know, that they, I don't know, they engage
right.
different ways, right?
Yes,
By liking, by commenting, or whatever, and then
right,
they potentially, you know, ask me for, okay, Sarah, can you tell me more now that I trust you. Now I
right.
trust. Now I know who you are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I trust you
Send
and
me
I'm
more.
ready.
Exactly.
Yes,
Now I'm ready. Now my senses, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready to be, I mean, I'm ready to listen more, you know, to
right.
listen to more, I don't know, technical details, let me say, when it comes to
Yeah,
the investment, you know, when it comes
yep,
to the styling
yeah.
sessions. So yeah, time, I would say.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely. I spoke with somebody a year or so ago who was in South America somewhere. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, she was involved in the publishing industry in some way. And she said she'd had a lady on her list, her email list, her drip campaign for 10 years. She'd been sending this lady
Well, that's quite long.
things. It was a long time. And the lady finally said, I'm ready.
Well, that's
Yeah.
okay.
I
Yeah.
remember it being in a class with John Assaraf back in 2000, or early 2015, and the question was asked, how long do you keep somebody on your email list? And John said, until they die or ask you to remove them.
Yeah. Because you never know. You
You
never know.
never know. They're in a journey, right?
Yeah.
There's that
Yeah.
that buyer's journey or customer's journey, and you don't know where they're at in the journey.
Oh
Exactly.
no.
And so until they raise their hand
Yeah.
and say, I'm here, I'm ready. So
That
another
is so
question that,
true. I think,
yeah,
like you say,
there you go.
I mean, I know myself, I've been on people's lists, like as a kind of a subscriber of other people's lists, and I have like been on their list for something like a really long time. The product wasn't relevant for me at the time, and then I purchased like something like 10 years later and things like that,
Yeah.
because it wasn't relevant for me then. I liked the content, for example, like they got a podcast or they got a blog that I liked, and I used to like follow it for that one, but the products weren't relevant for me. But you know, sometimes I reach a certain point and they suddenly are relevant for me. So
Yeah.
it is true. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life goes in cycles, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, next question for you. As people who are interested in collaboration, when you meet someone, do you do your best to introduce them to other people? Are you constantly thinking about who can I connect this person to? Who would be a good fit for them? Who would be either a good client or a good mentor or a good whatever? And how do you go about doing that? Sarah?
Well, going back to Athena, let's say that is one of the cores, let me say, you know, of the Athena network. So every time that we introduce each other is like opening different files, you know, at the same time. And so, yes, I would say definitely yes. When it comes to my own business, styling is quite opening, you know, to different kind of files as well, because it's linked to clothes and we can't actually skip them, even if many
Yeah,
women, unfortunately, still believes they are superficial, they are not important, I don't want to, I can't be bothered, blah, blah, blah. But no, you can't, because in the end of the day, you have to wear your clothes, right? It's more or
yes,
less
you
like
do.
food. I love the connection between food and clothes, right? Fridge and wardrobe. There's this kind of invisible line between these two
Right.
areas, you know. So I try to be quite, how to say, try to go outside of the box, right?
Right.
And I do it for other people as well. So it's quite, I mean, it's a lot. So it's like opening all these files, you know. So sometimes I don't know, I feel tired because of that mainly. chapters and chapters, you know. But it is what it is. I mean, otherwise you can't keep going.
Yeah.
I do my best. I keep my eye and ears open when I hear somebody who needs either Laura's or Sarah's services. But then again, I want to find out a little bit, because I don't want to refer anybody that is not really serious about their services.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I have met a lot of people who do you know any stylists? But I'm not sure. I don't want this. I don't want lots of I don't want. I felt like do I really want them to have Sarah's contacts for them to tell a list of I don't all the time. So, but I'm always with them in mind if I hear.
Yeah. So Regina, how do you vet them before you make that introduction? How do you vet that?
Well, they usually on one-to-ones that we have, and this collaboration or the connection. And then I ask questions. What do you want? Do you want a quick fix of a one-page website and cheap? Because that's the first thing, isn't it? They say that the two negatives are time and money. I don't have time or I don't have money. So do you know anybody who can write content very cheaply and one page? That's not Laura, is it?
Well, you know what, Regina? Cheap, it's a quite personal idea, because
by cheap they mean cheap, really.
Sorry, I try to be positive on that.
They say, you know, because I can go on the website and I can do my own page.
Oh, yeah,
you know.
And you encourage them in that direction, right?
Yeah, I said, if you think you can, go ahead. But it's the same with me. I mean, I had some referrals that were not quite well suited, because they thought, I want you to put me to sleep, and when I wake up, my problems are solved. And I said, oh my God, I know I am doing my course on goddess. I haven't graduated it yet. You imagine? Go to sleep, wake up, gone. Wow.
I know. When they say, Sarah, can I be blonde, blue eyes, thin and tall? I'm not God. I don't have any magic stick. I'm just a stylist.
We are doing our best to get to that level.
Don't put me this pressure. I don't want this responsibility.
Well, we can change their hair color, and you can get some colored contacts, right? That's about it.
Try my best.
But I can just say something. The beauty of collaboration. I haven't spoken with Laura in a while, and she thought of me.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is amazing. This is what matters, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means that you've made an impact for her to remember you and think of you.
Yeah, good one. I hope, because Laura.
We have definitely good. I think you're absolutely right. And I think it is absolutely right. Like I've had like people that I've met once, and sometimes they didn't stay in my mind. And there's certain people who I think it's actually the people that have, coming back to the social media, the people that have tended to interact with my social media, or they've maybe sent me a message or something, that there's been a bit of a connection, not just having that one-to-one with them to find out about them, but it's the people that kind of interact with you in between. And I sometimes, like, I've met people and then we've had the one-to-one and then I've never seen them again. But I think sometimes even if you don't necessarily meet them again, but they keep popping up because you keep seeing their name, or you keep they just keep kind of popping up in your feed and things, I think that does kind of keep them top of mind. And that's one of the reasons, Regina, you're often popping up in my feed, and I think you've, interacted with some of my posts. So I think that really helps in that kind of way, to keep people at the top of mind and in that way.
Yeah. And that's, again, coming back to what do we do to nurture the relationship, to keep that top of mind, nurture that relationship, so that we can, when an opportunity arises, then we have that connection. And Regina, going back to what you said too, so important that we do make sure that the people that we're introducing them to are a good fit from as best we can. I want them, when I make an introduction, I want the person to be so excited to meet, to meet this new person that I'm introducing them to.
Yeah.
And then I get excited, like, I can't wait to hear how this works out,
Yeah.
keep me posted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really wonderful when you can introduce others and help them grow their business. So it's not always about what happens on our side, is it? But that introducing others is part of that giving first, right?
Yeah.
That we give with no expectation of return, but the law of reciprocity actually kicks in, and we stay more top of mind with that person now, or with both of those people when we've made an introduction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's another way actually that person stays top of mind, is for you actually giving the introductions and mentioning you and that kind of thing. I think it's really important. And I know like sometimes people have introduced me and you sort of feel that need to kind of reciprocate, and often, I mean, sometimes obviously you can't like invent if you don't happen to know anyone that needs the services, no point in kind of forcing it. But I think what's happened to me sometimes, I've recommended certain people to, if someone's been looking for a certain type of person, I've been able to recommend them. But also what I found is I've had people that have come out of the blue and recommended me, not through the same person. It's just like they say that law of kind of, reciprocity, where you kind of give back and it doesn't come back to you necessarily from the person that you gave it to, but it does come back to you in the end in some sort of way. And I do think, it is really true.
Yeah.
And that what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it may not have come through that same person where you gave, but you still receive. Sarah, you looked like you had something to add there.
Me?
Yes. Did
No,
you have something
absolutely. I mean, I was listening, and I mean, yeah, it works like that. I'm completely agree with Laura and Regina, and I love what you said about giving with no expectations, because expectations.
Yeah.
Do we have 2 hours? 2 hours. I love that. Yeah, giving. Anytime that I meet, so I always try to lower that down. I'm an Aquarius, and I always dream. So
Is that where that comes from? I'm an Aquarius as well. I didn't know that's where that comes from.
Loyal, creative, and always all over the place.
Yes.
Like flying away. And I know, so sometimes I was like, Sarah.
Yeah, you have to pull it back in.
Sarah.
Yeah. My sister told me recently, she said, your head just explodes with ideas.
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh yeah, please let me start on that.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. So what else? What other value can we give to our listeners relative to collaborations and things that they can do to form effective collaborations or find good collaborative partners? We've talked about the networking group. How else can we find those partners?
To me, collaboration is creation. Yes. You need to. You need to collaborate to trigger your own creativity. And history is full of examples. When Laura mentioned come to this collaboration conversation, the two people popped in mind, whether you like their art or not, but Georges Braque and Pablo Picasso, they collaborated and they created Cubism. Whether you like the art form or not, but they created this new art form through collaboration. It is incredible. So you create. It's you with another person, and you create, in my opinion, beauty, regardless or whatever regardless what you do, either helping people or making them think, giving them food for thought.
Yeah. Comes back to that, we all grew up knowing that 1 + 1 = 2,
Yeah.
but with collaboration, 1 + 1 = 11.
Yeah. That's
Right?
true.
We're going for that bigger
Yeah.
result when we collaborate. When you
Mhm.
have 2 or more minds working together,
Yeah.
it's just incredible. Laura, what you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that kind of collaboration, I think I agree with Regina. I think it's not, you do have to be kind of creative about it. I think it's not necessarily, obviously joining a networking group is an obvious way to kind of find people, but I think it's that kind of thing of sometimes the connections you have or the potential collaborations you have aren't necessarily obvious. Like I think sometimes I've actually collaborated with people where I've done certain like joint workshops and things, and it's not necessarily been from like the really obvious people that you would expect. And I think it's just having that kind of creative mindset and sort of being open-minded to possibilities of how that collaboration can work. And like you say, it could be something really simple like just referring them and just being able, but it could be something where you do a joint a bit like we're doing now, really. I mean, we're having a joint conversation, so like something like that where where we're having a conversation about some kind of common area, or even creating some kind of combined product in certain circumstances. I mean, there's so many things you can do, and I think you've got to be you've got to have the right mindset to be able to succeed. And I think the mindset of being very open-minded, being very flexible, because I think if you're very much like, well, I do this, and you're very closed off to anything new, I think it's going to be very difficult to kind of succeed.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about that, really.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, linked to what Laura has just said, and I don't know if it happened with you ladies as well, but sometimes I started, it happened, starting conversation. So apparently we were, these people and myself, or that person, myself, on the same boat, but then you see that it's not. I mean, during the process, the beginning of the process, you understand better, and you potentially get, at a certain moment when, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
The point is, sometimes you don't want to take that responsibility and say, no, I'm not. I'm going out. I mean, I can't keep going because this collaboration, actually, I had an idea. Let's going back to expectation, right? So for me, it's always try to be quite concrete and try to listen. Regina, thank you for reminding that, which is quite important. Try to listen exactly what the other person is saying, during the first conversation, and try to be concrete. Try to be real. I mean, you can have an amazing idea, but can we do it concretely, time-wise, investment-wise, energy-wise? Because there's a lot involved. You put a lot of effort. What I can ask you every time that I start, collaboration, especially if it's a big project, are you sure about that? And I keep actually, and I like when, I get the same answer. Sarah, are you still sure about that now that we are? Because I rather prefer saying, you know what, it's been a pleasure, bye-bye, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
We keep going just because we have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's such a good point. I actually think that is such a good point, actually. I think, although I said being open-minded, but I do think you have to know when to kind of say no.
Stop and say no.
It's not working, we need to stop. And I think that initial stage of like exploring what possibilities are, but then you have to be quite happy to say, no, this is not going to work for me. It's not really in line with my business or what I want to do. And even if, like you say, you've already started the project and it's not really going in the right direction,
I know.
Be happy to say that. And I think it's really difficult to do it. I find it difficult. I don't like saying no.
Yeah, that's the point.
Really difficult.
We don't like saying no.
You have to do that.
Disappointment. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's much better to call it off, though, than to continue if it's not right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to say no. But
Yeah.
it takes courage to say yes as well.
Yes, it does.
And
It
keep
does.
going. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
keep going. Yeah. Yeah.
And I really loved the part about being open-minded. I think that's so important. If you're going to go for a creative collaborative effort, you've got to be open-minded.
Yeah.
And then I also loved what Regina and Sarah were both saying about listening. And I think part of that has to do with listening for attitudes.
Yeah.
You know, listen beyond those spoken words, listen to what their attitudes are and their belief system, their values. Does it align with you so that you can do a project together or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not all about the skill sets, right?
Yeah.
True. True.
So, yeah, and sometimes you do have to dissolve those collaborations. Sometimes they're not going to work out right.
No.
And despite your best efforts. Frequently, when that happens, we can look back and see the signs that told us earlier on that this might be in danger.
Well, when you collaborate with someone, you start actually a relationship somehow, right?
Correct.
So it's based on having this kind of relationship, this kind of commitment somehow. So you have to be there when you have to be there for the one-to-one, for delivering, certain beats, for going live the day of the event, whatever it's going to be. So that's why saying no is not easy, because when you have this kind of relationship with someone, saying no or saying yes and keep going, it could be a little bit tricky, right? If you're not really secure.
And Sarah, you mentioned something else about, kind of laying out the rules and things. But we also talked about you being a creative and, Aquarius and all of that. Do you find it harder for you to get into that mode of this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing, this is how we're going to work together? Or have you done enough of it that you just know that you have to do that in order to be successful and you just plow through it? That says a lot.
Have I answered?
You have answered.
No words, right? No,
No words.
absolutely. Because I have to, being creative, and I had a creative background as well. I've studied history of art at uni. I've been acting for 10 years, theater, right? And then I had a master in art therapy. So you can imagine that for me, being in the creative, mindset,
that's your zone.
My blood. I love that. But on the other side, I like when people are, how to say, more straightforward, are less creative, which is not being boring.
No,
because it's not being boring. It just introduce me to a different point of view.
Yes.
Which is something that maybe doesn't belong to me directly, but it's interesting anyway. So I like when there's that kind of connection between, going back to open-minded. Oh, she's the bubbling, she can actually put that kind of woohoo on top of something that it's more structured.
Right.
Right? But building an outfit needs to be really structured as well.
Right.
And fashion, I always say that fashion is not just art. It's not just something like far away.
Yes.
No, fashion is based on figures, on numbers, on people. Fashion is something really concrete. You can touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that as well. There's a creative and amazing side, but it's something that you see concretely and you feel it.
Get that balance.
It's balance. Well done.
Balance between creativity and structure.
Fashion is amazing because of that, because it's balance. You have to find your balance. That's another story. But anyway.
Very good. Regina, you had a comment there.
Yeah, I also think that open-mindedness, yes, and flexibility, because we are not the same. We are different people. We see the world in different ways. So there has to be an amount of flexibility to have collaboration and respect.
Yes.
To have a successful or an enjoyable collaboration.
Right. Right.
I think.
Yeah, that's so true. Because I think, like you say, different people, they work in different ways. They have different styles of businesses. And if you don't have that kind of understanding or willing to understand how other people work, how they like to operate, then it's not really going to be very fair, is it? So I do think that's really, really important. I agree.
You have to be extremely flexible also, because money is not involved. You're not actually getting, that the majority of the time when you collaborate with someone is free, it's an exchange.
Yeah,
right.
So that's why you have to be really motivated, really open-minded. You have to be flexible, because you are getting something else, but you don't have money out of that the majority of the time.
That's true.
Yeah.
You need to be aware that there's more than one way to accomplish something.
Absolutely.
And your way is not the only way.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, ladies, this has been great. I've enjoyed this very much, and so glad, Laura, that you invited these two lovely ladies. We've come to the end of our time, though. And so we are now I'd like to hear from each of you just kind of a wrap-up comment, your overall thoughts about collaboration. And Laura, will have you go last, okay? And then when you give those comments, if you'd tell people how they can get in touch with you as well, that would be great. Okay. So Regina, can we start with you?
Yeah. So thank you very much for having me, Laura. Thank you for inviting me. I love this kind of connection and conversation with people, and perhaps to start a collaboration or not. But I've learned a lot, and I think that the moment you hear some sort of different point of views, you are a changed person. So I am not the same person now, from now on, as I was at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So thank you so much. And you can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you, Regina. And so nice to meet another Regina.
Likewise.
Sarah, would you share your thoughts?
Absolutely learning, sharing. When it comes to, when I think of the collaboration I've been, dealing with so far, and the potential, future collaborations, learning, sharing, listening, going back to what Regina said, and having fun, because in the end of the day, it's nice when you collaborate with women or whoever, and there's that kind of sparkle, as well, on the human level, more than professional. But we are human beings first, right? So absolutely the sparkle. And where can you find me? Well, I'm on Instagram under the name Sima Stylist London. So it's a long one name. And then I have LinkedIn, Sara Ibrahim. I'm wearing a red jumper because there are plenty of Sara Ibrahim, I've noticed. And simastylist.com is my website, where you can find more about my story, my services, and how we can potentially work together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Miss Laura, thank you again for being guest co-host today.
It's been such a fun conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I feel it's been quite educational, just kind of having this conversation and learning from other people, their perspectives as well. So I think it's been so interesting to have this chat. It's been really, really fun, but also educational. And I think in terms of like last words, for me, I think collaboration really needs to be successful. It really needs to be open-minded, flexible, and also very supportive, always thinking about how can you support the other person that you're collaborating with, and thinking about all the different ways that you can stay top of mind, and just thinking about how you can support them in not just the obvious ways, but just through other ways as well.
Yeah. It reminds me, of the win-win-win. I want everything I do with people to be a win-win-win. It needs to be a win for me, a win for you, and a win for our clients.
Yeah.
And when we come at it from that perspective, we're going to be able to give that value to them. And that's so important. And we should be giving value before we're asking for value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all that kind of being very, not always kind of looking for something first. You're kind of giving first, and then, you know, I think it ultimately comes back to you. But I know myself, if people are always kind of always about themselves, it doesn't give me a very positive feeling about that person. So I do think it's really, really important. That kind of
I do too.
Yeah.
And for the most part, you do get a return on that investment, if you will. But even if you don't, you've done the right thing. You've helped somebody else.
It's
And
not
it's
about
it's not
what you
about
get.
the return.
It's about, like that, say, you know, it's that kind of building relationships with people, really. It's not about getting something out of it. It's just about building that network, building the relationships. And I think it's so important to have that strong network today.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And Laura, did you tell them how to get in touch with you?
Yes, I will do now. So a number of different ways. Firstly, my website, inspirati.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Laura Nicole Brown. And you can also find me on Instagram at Inspirati Studios.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you again, ladies, for being here today. Great conversation. I appreciate you so much and all that you've added to this collaboration conversation that is ongoing here. And folks, we thank you for joining us. We hope you'll pop in next time when we have another collaboration conversation. Bye for now.
Bye.